I am starting today's episode off with a quote, one that I created, that I say all the time, and actually had put on a sweatshirt for myself. And the quote is, dedicate yourself to your vision. No one else can see it as clearly as you. And that is what episode 15 on My Day on Canvas will be about, following through with your vision. You don't have to be a painter or a specific kind of artist to find some golden nuggets within this episode. You can be anyone.
Thank you for tuning into My Day on Canvas podcast by Summer Silvery. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This podcast is available to stream on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. All links are in the description of this episode, including my art shop, artbysummersilvery.com.
I want to break down what following through with your vision means as a creative person. And there are so many ways that you can interpret it or whatever, but I want to give you my perspective of it. So I want you to think of all the decisions that you've made today so far. And you're not even asleep yet because you're listening to this. There are a lot, all the small ones, the big ones. And then I want you to think about the people that you've encountered, whether it's face-to-face, over the phone, FaceTime, whatever, other human beings that you've interacted with today. And then I want you to think about the random things that go on throughout your day that delay the things that you're trying to do. It could be anything, stubbing your toe, accidentally breaking a cup. The point that I'm trying to make is that we've got a lot going on in our lives. We've got a lot going on. And I didn't even include mental health days where you're just not in the right headspace, or sick days, something goes on with the family. There are a lot of things that we go through on a daily basis. These are things that we like to call life and living, and they're things to be grateful for. When you're a creative and you have a vision and it's particular to you, you are the one that sees it clearest. You are the one that has to make time for it then. And you are the one that has to make sure that the things in your life aren't keeping you from them or blurring them. So how do you do that? I can tell you what has worked for me so far. I'm going to share with you guys a story that was a catalyst in my life about 7 years ago, and it has completely altered the way that I live my life. But first, I want to say, when you have a vision for yourself as a creative, it's important to hold on to it because, like I said at the beginning, you are the one who sees it clearest. Even if you can't see it all the way, you don't know all the steps yet, just the one that's right in front of you, take it. And no person, no decisions throughout your day, no weird distractions can keep you from following through with it. Obviously, as creatives, we have bigger visions for ourselves, those 10x goals and all of that stuff. But when you are starting off and you want to focus on pursuing something in particular with your art or whatever creative venture that you have to set yourself up so that you can actually follow through with it. Whether it's your environment or the people that are surrounding you or the way that you are consuming content or knowledge, there are so many things in your life that can affect what you do when following through with your vision. So, story time. About 7 years ago, I thought that I had it all. I had the boyfriend, the puppy, the kitten we adopted, a cozy apartment, the white picket fence house we eventually moved into together. I had a job at the same hospital as my boyfriend while I was still attending college. I was a college student at the time, so I was like 22 or 23. I felt so grateful for all of it, but at the same time, I felt like something was missing. I had all these things in my life that so many people strive towards, yet I was struggling to feel happy. Growing up in a small town your whole life with little to no exposure to any place aside from it, your views towards things are kind of narrow. Mine were. You don't really question what other people are doing. You just do it too because that's the norm. That's what you see. It's easy to have friends and talk to those around you about your life because in general, they're pretty much living the identical life to yours, aside from the little details. You know what back roads to take, to escape traffic, where the best places to eat are, what places to avoid. You've got friends you've known your whole life as neighbors, and there never seems to be a shortage of gossip about those who have shocked you with their life choices thus far in life. Most people love this life, and there's nothing wrong with this life. It's comfortable, it's satisfying, it just was not for me. So this unknown missing thing in my life really began eating away at me. I felt like I had two sides to me. I was upset with myself for being unsatisfied with the life I was living, thinking to myself, I'm so grateful and I have been so blessed with everything in my life. How can I be feeling this way? And then there was the other side of me that was yelling at myself for not trying to figure out what this unknown missing thing was. I was struggling in college so much, just I didn't want to graduate because I didn't know what I wanted to do in the professional world, but everyone else around me was graduating and finishing, and I was so many semesters behind. I was struggling really bad. It's like I was there because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just go to college and then graduate, even if it takes 100 years. Then one day, the second side of me, the figure your stuff outside, took over, and I impulsively applied to a 7-week entrepreneurial program in Silicon Valley, California. That would be taking place in summer, which is perfect because I wouldn't be in college. I've always been infatuated with creating innovation, working for myself, and in that small amount of time it took for me to fill out that application, I felt like I had a hold of my future. It felt good. Some time had passed from filling out the application. I wanted to feel as though I was still moving forward with figuring this unknown missing thing out, so I set up a meeting with the academic advisor. I wanted to change my major to entrepreneurship. Maybe then I would be able to care a little more about what I was learning in school. And before, I was doing strategic communications and marketing, so that stuff was interesting to me as well, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. And going back to what I talked about earlier, it's so important to figure out what that itch is. If you have that itch where it's like, I should be doing something else. I know I should be doing something else. What is it that I can do? And that's what I was doing here. Like in this story, I had no idea what steps to take, but I just started taking the ones that seemed obvious to me at the time. Like, okay, change your major. Okay, apply to this school. See if you can learn this way. So I didn't know the big picture or where I would be today, 7 years later, but I did know the obvious steps that I needed to take to move forward and being able to pursue what it is that I wanted to pursue. And at the time, pursuing what it is I wanted to pursue was just figuring out what it is that I wanted to pursue. So 2 days before meeting with my academic advisor, I got a response from the entrepreneurial program that they wanted to interview me, and I got in. I absolutely said yes to this opportunity, and I spent the whole summer in Northern California. My first time away from all I've ever known my entire life for this long. I learned more in the 7 weeks I was in that program than I ever did in the 4.5 years I spent in college. I can't put into words the amazing transformation that happened to me when I went through the entrepreneurial program. It's like my mind was constantly challenged. I met people from all around the world with so many different perspectives on life, so many different ways of living their life, and I learned how many things I truly had to offer. Because when I was in college and I was doing the white picket fence boyfriend thing, I just felt like I was going through the motions, like I was living a life full of invisible check marks. Like, okay, go to high school, graduate, then go to college, get a boyfriend, live with them, do this, do that, whatever. And it wasn't me, first off. None of it felt right to me. I was so grateful for it. And obviously they were decisions that I made myself. But when I was in it and I had a longer time to experience all of it, I learned that it was not for me. And for the longest time, I had allowed school to trick me into thinking I was dumb and had nothing to offer, which is a slippery slope. I mean, a place that is supposedly meant to make you feel like the opportunities are endless with so much to learn and so many places to go, it can also make you feel like you have zero opportunities and a big fat nothing to give to the world. So everyone's experience is different. I just happen to learn differently than how the education system is structured. I didn't feel like I was learning the way that felt effective to me, I guess. So while I had the comfortable life and the college and the job and the boyfriend and all of that stuff, I left it for something that was completely different than anything I've ever experienced across the country to Northern California. From being in Ohio my entire life, that was a shakeup. I didn't know anybody there. I just totally took a chance on myself, and I was so ready for change and to get out of the environment that I was in that I didn't have fear at all. I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. While I was in that 7-week program, my boyfriend of 2.5 years broke up with me. Our relationship had been rocky before I went to the entrepreneurial program, but while I was in California, everything just got worse. As I was finding myself, he didn't recognize it. He had broken up with me, and I didn't really fight to get him back. I was 150% focused on learning as much as I could during that time and took full advantage of every minute that I had there. So after the program ended in August, I was blessed with an amazing job opportunity there. I absolutely said yes. My life back home had fallen completely apart right at the beginning of the program, which I wasn't expecting to happen. So I made sure to work my butt off while I was there. So I was in a position to get a job opportunity there. And the whole experience was wild. It felt like everything was falling away from me, everything that I ever knew. And then it was all coming to me at the same time too. Like my new life, the me. It's like my old life was shedding and falling away while my new one, the one that was more me than I've ever experienced, was coming to me. So I went back home for a couple weeks to say my goodbyes to family before officially moving to Northern California to start my job. And I had to get my belongings out of my ex's and I's house. I wasn't given the opportunities to say goodbye to our dog that we had, that I slept with every single night, that we adopted. I had to set our cat up for adoption at my family veterinarian clinic, and I left, donated, and tossed pretty much everything that I owned. I packed my remaining belongings into 5 boxes to ship to California. I sold my car. I dropped out of college. All I ever knew, my entire life completely changed in a matter of months. Holy crap. So going back to what I was saying earlier, is that when you are trying to follow through with your vision, it is so important to surround yourself around the right people, the right environment, whatever it is you're consuming. You have to make sure that it's in alignment with who you are and your vision, because it's hard enough taking roads that are less traveled. It's even harder when you don't have the right kind of environment or support around you. So it's very important, if you are able to control the things around you, to control them the best way that you know how. Meaning just what you are willing to take and consume. I lost relationships, stability, material stuff, and a life of comfort. I risked it all, and I took a chance on myself. Family and friends thought I was crazy. So many people did not understand my choices. But to me, I just kept thinking, I have to live with me the rest of my life, not them. I have to be inside my head 24/7, not them. I'm the one who's going to have to live with my decisions, not them. So I'm going to make me happy first. Don't get me wrong. There were times that I was sad. There were times that I felt overwhelmed, but that's when I would focus on everything that I was gaining. Because when you're sad and you're overwhelmed and you are scared and all of that stuff, you're thinking about everything that you're losing and all the things that you are keeping behind. And you're not thinking of all the things that you can gain from it. So I would always focus on everything I was gaining. What I was doing felt so right that there were few times I felt scared about all the changes. So it's been about 7 years since that entire experience. And that piece of my life will forever be the catalyst that helped transform how I live. I'm going to be 30 this year. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be 30, and my life has changed so much since that 3-month shakeup. 3 months. All of that, everything that I just talked about happened in a matter of 3 freaking months. It showed me exactly what I'm truly capable of, which is way more than I was settling for. And it's so crazy to think that an impulsive act of filling out an application to a 7-week program over 2,000 miles away would change the course of my life so drastically. This life I'm living right now feels more like home than I've ever felt. I'm in Southern California now. I have an incredible boyfriend that will hopefully become the man I spend the rest of my life with. I am painting, I am creating, I am doing this podcast. I love my life so much, and I feel like I am following through with my vision of living freely as I am, as an artist, as a creative, and constantly learning new things about myself. It's crazy where life takes you, especially when you're not afraid to make the leaps and you listen to your gut. You can't be afraid of what others think of you. You just got to do what's best for you. You also can't expect things to fill the emptiness that you feel. It was so hard to admit to myself and those around me that I was miserable in my life because of all the things that I had in it. But it would be even harder to be sitting here 7 years later and be in the same position that I was 7 years ago. So I share this story with you because this is my way of following through with my vision for myself. Having the right people around you, the right support, being in the right environment for myself so that I can grow in a positive, good way. Consuming things that aren't just brainless, but they're helping me for my future. It's all so important. And from the story that I just shared, there was a lot of things that weren't right in my life. There were a lot of things that didn't fit me, who I was, my identity. And it's really, really hard to admit to yourself when this life that seems normal and there's a lot to be grateful for and there's so many people in your life, friends, family, all this stuff, everybody knows each other, whatever. And you go, you know what? This life isn't for me. I'm going to go pack my bags and move across the country or do whatever I have to do to make myself happy. It's hard. It's so hard to do. And people look at you like you're crazy. But when you do that and you're honest with yourself and you get out of the environment that no longer serves you or isn't serving you at all, you learn so much about yourself. So in a way, my quote, dedicate yourself to your vision, no one else can see it as clearly as you, is basically like saying dedicate yourself to your life because no one else knows what you need as much as you do to be truly happy. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on episode 15 of My Day on Canvas. I am so happy I went this direction with this episode today. And I really hope that in me sharing this story, it's definitely my most catalyst moment so far in my life, that it helps you in one way or another. You are not alone if you feel like you are stuck. There are definitely things you can do, and if there is something that you feel like you need to do and you don't know what it is, then take the first step and make a decision that seems obvious yet difficult. Just one that you can change or do right now that can help better you for your future.